What if I told you that most of what we've been taught about money, success, and life is designed to keep us in a loop, working, spending, repeating, without ever really getting ahead? But here's the thing. The 1% don't follow that script. They think differently. They play the long game. And they make moves that multiply their freedom, not just their paychecks. In this video, I'm breaking down 7 mental shifts that separate the wealthy from everyone else, and how you can start thinking like the 1% today. Let's dive in. 1. Audit your influence. Let me ask you something. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? And I don't just mean in real life. Think about the group chats you're in, the people you follow online, even the voices you let into your head through podcasts or YouTube videos. Now, here's where it gets real. I want you to write down each of those 5 people, just their names. Then, next to each one, describe them in 5 words. Don't overthink it, just whatever comes to mind first. So maybe it's driven, ambitious, curious, or maybe it's negative, scattered, always complaining. Now here's the kicker. Those 25 words? They're not just describing them, they're describing you. Or at the very least, the version of you that's being reinforced every single day. That hit me hard the first time I did it. Because I realized I was taking advice from people I wouldn't trade lives with. I was letting comfort shape my environment instead of intention. So if you're serious about growing, leveling up, changing your life in any way, you have to audit your influence. Start surrounding yourself, online or offline, with people who reflect who you want to become, not just who you've been. Your environment is shaping you whether you notice it or not. So make sure it's building the version of you you're actually trying to become. 2. Buy freedom, not flex. Let's be honest. What's the first thing most people do when they get a little extra money? They spend it. A new phone, clothes, a weekend away. And I get it. It feels good in the moment. But that's the trap. Now here's the difference. The 1%? They don't think, what can I buy? They ask, what can I own that will pay me back later? It's a different mindset. They delay the flex so they can buy freedom. Real estate, stocks, intellectual property, businesses, assets that grow in value, or even better, generate income. Think about it. Most people use their paycheck to fund their lifestyle. The wealthy use their assets to fund theirs. I used to do this too. I'd get paid and immediately look for ways to treat myself. But over time, I realized, if I kept doing that, I'd be working forever just to keep up. That's not freedom. Here's the shift. Stop using money just for comfort today. Start using it to buy back your time tomorrow. Because the flex, that can wait. But your freedom? That's worth investing in right now. 3. Get obsessed with growth. There's a pattern I've noticed with the top 1%. They're not just interested in success, they're obsessed with growth. And I don't mean obsessed in a toxic hustle culture kind of way. I mean they have a deep sense of purpose. They know why they're doing what they're doing, and that clarity makes it almost impossible for them to settle for average. Here's something I did that really changed things for me. I wrote down my biggest goal. Just one. The one that actually scares me a little. And then I asked myself, am I treating this like a nice idea? Or like it's non-negotiable? Because there's a big difference. When it's just an idea, it stays a wish. But when it's non-negotiable, your mind shifts. You start noticing opportunities you would have ignored before. You move different. You don't wait. You act. The people who grow fast, who build wealth, who change their lives, they're not lucky. They're just fully committed. So if there's something you want, start acting like it's not optional. Obsess over it in a healthy way. Study it. Work toward it daily. Build the version of you that can handle it. Because when your mind is all in, the universe starts catching up. 4. Plan with precision, move with speed. All right, let me give it to you straight. Wealthy people do not wing it. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. The 1%? They might look spontaneous from the outside, but under the hood, they're incredibly calculated. They plan with precision, but they move fast. Let me break this down. They don't just sit around dreaming about big goals. They take those big goals, break them into small, clear steps, and they start executing, even when it's messy, even when it's not perfect. And that's what creates momentum. So let's say you've got a big goal. Maybe it's saving your first $10,000 or launching a side hustle that replaces your 9-to-5 income. Great. That's your milestone. That's where you want to go. Now break it down. What needs to happen in the next 90 days to move the needle? What can you do this week that brings you closer? And don't wait until it's all figured out. Just start. Take the first step. Open the savings account, register the domain, write the first email. Whatever it is, start and adjust as you go. Because here's the thing most people don't realize. Clarity comes from action, not from thinking. You don't need the entire staircase. You just need the first 2 steps and the courage to move. And when you pair structure with speed, that's where things take off. You've got the plan and the pace. You're not just hoping things change, you're making them change. You're not reacting to life anymore. You're building it. Look, it doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be perfect. But progress beats perfection every time. The wealthiest people aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who are willing to move before they feel 100% ready. So if you're sitting on a big idea or a goal you've been thinking about for months, this is your reminder. Don't just plan it, move on it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're not sure how it'll play out. That's how momentum builds. And momentum? That's how wealth is built. Speed plus structure. That's the combo. 5. Speak in possibility. One of the biggest shifts I ever made in how I think about money came down to just one sentence. The words I was using without even realizing it. You know how most people say, "I can't afford that"? It sounds harmless, right? But that one sentence shuts your brain down. It tells your subconscious, "This isn't possible for me." End of conversation. But the top 1%, they don't think like that. When they see something they want or an opportunity that feels out of reach, they ask, "How can I create the money for that?" It's a small change in language, but it's a massive shift in mindset. Now you're in problem-solving mode. You're looking for options. You're asking better questions. And when you ask better questions, you get better results. It's not just about positive thinking. It's about strategic thinking. About staying open to possibility instead of defaulting to limits. So the next time you're hit with a big opportunity, or even just something you really want, and your first thought is, "I can't," stop. Take a breath. And instead ask, "How can I make this happen?" You'll be surprised what your brain starts coming up with when you give it the right question. 6. Take the shot. Let me ask you something real quick. What's one thing you've been putting off because you're waiting for the right time? Starting that business idea? Posting that content? Making the first investment? Switching careers? Yeah, we've all got something like that. But here's the truth. The right time probably isn't coming. See, most people live in this loop of when I'm ready or when everything lines up. But the reality, that moment almost never arrives. Life doesn't pause for you to feel ready. It keeps moving. And while you're waiting, someone else is already in motion. Now, I'm not saying be reckless. This isn't about gambling your future. The wealthy, people in that top 1%, they're not wild or impulsive. They take calculated risks. But what sets them apart is that they take them. They pull the trigger. They move. They'd rather try and fail than stay stuck in this endless what-if mode. You know what's actually riskier than trying? Not trying, because playing it safe doesn't build an extraordinary life. It just maintains the one you already have. And deep down, if you're honest with yourself, that's probably not the life you want to settle for. So here's my challenge to you. What's one thing you've been hesitating on? That idea you've been thinking about for months. That goal you keep writing down but haven't acted on. That conversation you know you need to have but you're avoiding. Whatever it is, this might be your sign to take the shot. Because even if it doesn't work out the way you imagined, you'll have moved forward. You'll have momentum. And that momentum? That's everything. You can course correct from a misstep, but you can't build on indecision. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you probably feel like you don't have it all figured out. Newsflash. Nobody does. Every bold move looks uncertain at the start. But what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck is simply action. Take the shot. Bet on yourself. Be bold. Because comfort might feel safe, but nothing extraordinary ever grows there. 7. Build wealth. That works. While you don't all right, last one. And honestly, it might be the most important shift if you want to think like the top 1%. We've been taught to earn money by working. Time in, paycheck out. Simple. And for a lot of people, that's the only version of income they know. You show up, you get paid, you pay your bills, you repeat. It feels normal, but that's not how real wealth is built. The wealthy? They don't just work for money, they build systems that make money for them. That could be investments like stocks, real estate, or index funds. It could be a business with a team running the day-to-day. It could be royalties from music, books, content, or a digital product that sells itself while they're on vacation or sleeping. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to start big. You don't need to have $10,000 sitting in a brokerage account or a business with employees tomorrow. Maybe it's $50 into an index fund every month. Maybe it's an ebook, a Notion template, or a course you make once and put out there. Maybe it's renting out a spare room or turning a skill you already have into something scalable. What matters is this, you start. Because over time, those little moves compound. Those passive streams stack. And before you know it, you've bought yourself something way more valuable than a paycheck. You've bought freedom. You can stop trading hours for dollars. You can stop asking, how do I make more? And start asking, how do I make this money work harder than I do? I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. Money is a tool. And when you learn to use it right, it buys you options. It buys you time. It lets you live life on your terms. So if there's one habit to build this year, it's this. Start creating income that doesn't rely on you showing up every day. That's how the 1% think. And that's how you start moving toward real wealth, not just high income. So to recap, wealthy people don't just make more money, they think differently, move differently, and make decisions with long-term vision. They audit their influences, buy freedom before flex, obsess over growth, plan fast, speak in possibility, take the shot, and build income that works without them. If even one of those shifts hit you today, run with it. Apply it. That's how momentum starts. And if you want more content like this, on money, mindset, and building the kind of life that gives you options, subscribe. I post every week sharing what I'm learning and living on the path to the 1%. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.